Hey there, Ride the Car Guy here, and today we are installing a differential into the 8-ball, our 2006 Nissan Xterra. Now this is part 2, so if you want to go check out part 1 where we remove the original open diff, then check out right here, one of those two areas. And that will show you how to remove the differential from the C200, which is the open diff on my Nissan Xterra. We are replacing it with an All Dogs Off-Road Co-op Limited Slip Differential. Not only is this going to be a huge upgrade for functionality, but it's going to be a lot stronger than the original spider gears that were in the open diff. And because this is our VK swapped Xterra, we need more power in the rear end. I highly recommend checking out this differential. The link is in the description below. As previously stated, I was going to reuse the bearings. That was so I could do the video all in one shot, but I couldn't even get the bearings off the old differential. So you shouldn't do that anyways. I went ahead and tried to source them. I had difficulty. I went and ordered a couple different bearings from a couple different stores around town, and none of them fit. So I just broke down and bought the ones from Nissan, but I did find a dealership that was selling them for $75 a piece instead of $120 a piece like I originally thought. There's the part number I bought. That's going to be an exact fit for this differential, and we just have to press these on. I removed my drive gear in the last video. I just obviously popped the 10, I think there's 10 here. Yep, 10 bolts out. And I'm going to go ahead and clean these out before we put everything back in there with thread sealant. But you do need to maintain this from your other differential to get it installed in your new one. So we're going to get these bearings pressed on, get the ring gear on, and then slap it into the back. All right, for pressing our bearing, we want to remove the outer race, and we want to set the bearing so it sort of looks like it's kind of like pointing away from the diff. Think of it that way. And I have it on my press here. I'm going to line it up as straight as I possibly can. And then I have like a little bearing press plate here. There we go. And I like to put just the slightest bit of like a, chassis lube on this. It probably does absolutely nothing, but it makes me feel better, Line everything up. If it looks good, we'll start pressing here. To me, it looks straight. Once you have it close, you got to do one last check here. It looks like I need to move this whole assembly over. There we go. Because you want to be pressing down in the dead center here. All right, so it's crooked, so I gotta stop it and realign it. You can try realigning it by tapping it, see if it lines back up. If not, you have to stop and kind of start over here. Looking good, there we go. All right. And then you want to press it until it's all the way flush on the bottom. There we go. You can feel it's very obvious when you get to that point. And there is our pressed bearing. All right, I'm going to wipe this down, make sure it's clean, flip it over, do the other one. All right, guys, same story on the other side. I just had to use this big plate to press on instead of those the smaller circumference bolts here. The only other thing I did is that I got some nice clean plastic and I wrapped the other bearing and zip tied around it so we're not getting a bunch of crap on there when it's sitting down here. So line this one up, press it in, and we move on. Now, before we go any further, I want to talk about some of the consumables we're going to need. So at this point, to do the reassembly, we need blue thread lock, red thread lock, of course, your gear oil. I got Prussian blue gear marking grease, making me feel like Bob Ross over here, and some little paint brushes. So that's once we get it assembled, we just make sure that the teeth are engaging in a way that we need them to engage. Now that's what I bought. On top of all of that, you really should be buying axle seals. If you're pulling your axles out, buy the seals. You might as well, they're already out. Now, I'm not doing that, but that's because this is not gonna be road driven for at least another couple months. I'm obviously going to drive it for you guys as part of, this series to make sure you know that I didn't totally screw it up. But as far as actually road driving it, I'm not. So that being said, you absolutely should be doing your axle seals. So next up, we're going to get the drive gear back onto the carrier, get them down as much as we can. You're supposed to do a certain foot-pound. I'll put it on the screen. And then you're supposed to do like another 30+ degrees. But the problem with this is that it is very cylindrical. So I can't really clamp it in my giant vise over here. So I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to do the final torquing. I might just do it when it's reassembled. I don't know. May not be able to. We'll see. But point is, ring gear next, then we set it in place. All right, this is where we use our high temp permanent thread locker. This is I use the Permatex 27200. Each one of these is going to get a little dab of it before putting it down. And it looks like there's extra space in here, which is really nice. If you look in here before you clean it, you'll see some of the thread sealant kind of like hovering above, obviously where it sat on the face of the bolt here. So, I mean, obviously still don't go crazy, but it is nice to know that if you get a little bit in there, it's not gonna lock you out, so to speak. So a little bit of an issue. This is probably frozen or close to it, so that's really great. So I'm gonna warm this up a little bit, then we can continue. Get one of our bolts, get a little bit of thread locker on it. You don't wanna go nuts with this stuff. And then I'm just gonna hold this up with one hand here. Kind of just get this lined up. Oh shit, hold on. All right, turns out you have to be more careful with this. So I'm gonna tap this back off. And we probably have to spin it around and tap it down once it's lined up. I forgot, this is like a exact fit here. So I'm gonna look down, make sure it's as aligned as possible. Doesn't look like there's a lot of room for error here. There we go. All right, that looks pretty well lined up. See if I can press a little bit. There we go. Flip it over. And now that it's aligned, we should be able to take a soft mallet and kind of get it down a little bit there. Let's flip it over. All right, it's not 100% there yet, but I wanna make sure we're aligned. That one's good, that one's good, perfect. Okay, so now that I have these aligned, flip it back over and drive it home. There we go. There was a very distinct click. Let's get one of these just to hold it in. There we go. So I know that this is the one that needs to be taken out and have thread locker put on. And now just put your locked one in. And I'm gonna quickly get all of them in with thread locker, then we'll try to get them down to 58 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys, when I took these off, I had to sit on my impact for a couple minutes on some of them to get them to remove. And so I just put them back on with the impact. I just ran 3 rounds until they stopped turning, basically. You know, super high strength bolt, really, really strong gear. I'm not really worried about damaging these. So they're all in there. And, you know, if I blow up the rear end, you guys will be the first ones to know. So I removed the little protector for the bearing. I have the outer race for each one. I did pair them up. I don't think it's gonna matter until you run them, but I paired them up. Now we have to go in, remove our thrust washers from the differential housing, and then place this in. All right, folks, we are back underneath, and this is the exciting part. This is where we put it back in. So off camera, I cleaned all this up. I took a gasket scraper, scraped it all off. Obviously cleaned our drain plug. That thing is was kind of gross. And now what we're gonna do is make sure all of these surfaces are clean, and then we wanna take off our thrust washers. So there's that one, put that to the side. This one over here, put it to this side. That's gonna give us a little bit of space to install this, and the idea is once you have the carrier installed, then you slide those thrust washers in on both sides. I kept the caps on both sides there, so it will be pretty obvious if you have it wrong. So there you go, that's the right orientation there. You can just tell by looking at it. And so have those ready. Those are all cleaned as well. And then we need to oil up these bearings on both sides before installing. So I have my gear oil with me, the 75W140 full synthetic. This is the one I decided to use. And then I lay down a plastic sheet over everything, try to keep it as clean as possible. And my oil pan is under here. So if I do drop it or need to set it down, I have a clean and soft space to drop it. So I'm gonna prep both outer races on both sides. Pull that one out. Make sure those look good. And then we're gonna take this oil, soak each bearing, set its outer race on it, kind of get it all in there, and make sure that when we do our first rollout, we're first starting to drive, that it's not dry on any surface at all. There's all that, okay. I'll probably do more than that, but it's a good start. And the same on the other side. I'm trying to keep my hands dry at the moment, minimize how much gear oil I get on them, because it'll make everything kind of difficult getting it all installed. I feel like I'm gonna need 4 hands for this, you know? And then I guess I'm gonna support it with my left hand. So let's scoop this up here. All right, although I don't know how the hell I'm gonna do this. I guess like get it up here, set it in, support the weight with the casing. There we go. Oh, already getting crap on it, great. Get that one on, and then sort of turn it in. Oh, okay, never mind. That actually went pretty well. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna get a cap on here so I can leave it and not lose my progress. Okay, so that's in there. I'm gonna go clean this thrust washer. I forgot to do that. And then we're gonna push it in. Well, now we'll push it in that side since it's open, and then we'll open this one up and push it in. Figure out what's going on here. There we go. There's that thrust washer. Gotta warm up my fingers for a second. Wow, can't feel a thing. And then orient the cap correctly. See if I can get it to sit on here. There it goes. Awesome. Okay. Drive those down. All right. Woo. So far, so good. I need to, since this isn't going to fall out, I need to take a break and warm up my hands. I can barely feel them. All right. I have most of the feeling back in my hands, so that's pretty dope. And then what we need to do now is push this assembly as far over as we can, and then also, while simultaneously wedging this washer in here, and kind of, they say to hammer it in. They have like a little tool. I'm not obviously going to use a tool, but I'm hoping if I get like a little wedge or a little pry bar. This is tapered edge here, so hopefully I can get it enough to get that thrust washer in. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can use my gasket scraper. It's the sort of thinnest thing that I have, and hope that I can. There you go. Okay, so now grab that washer. All right, here we go. Awesome. Well, two things. Probably should have put lubrication on this. So let's just do that. There we go. Very good. There we go. Shove it all in. All right. And then the idea is you're supposed to hammer this down and it's supposed to slide into place. I'm going to get a little dead blow and see if I can do it that way. It's looking really good so far. Now I just need to figure out something, some sort of tool to get it the rest of the way in here. So let's see. I'm just trying to get something on there that I can't hit the hammer past this, right? That's all I'm dealing with because it's hitting the edge there. So I'm just gonna get my old race. Trying to get that in there. There we go. Excellent. That looks good, looks flush. So that's great. Okay, so now I'm gonna wipe this down. I'll get a clean towel and then get both caps cinched down, make sure they're sitting flat, and then get them torqued down to spec. All right, things are looking good. Get this guy here. It's not gonna be, yeah, you really can't do it wrong. So that's good. That one in, that one in. The manual doesn't say to put any like stuff on these, so, all right. Make sure they start threading before driving them down. Okay, very good. Now, I got to tell you, the clearance in here, woo! Clearance from these bolts here to your bearing cappers, it's pretty tight. That's all right. I think we're good. I am crazy excited that we're at this point. All right, next up, let's get the torque wrench. These are 17s, and they go down to 69 foot-pounds. So let's get them torqued. The carrier is installed. All right, next up here, we're gonna figure out how the teeth are interacting with each other on the drive gear versus the pinion gear. And for that, I have some the Prussian blue gear marking stuff. I don't know what the hell it's called. And we're gonna mark it on the inside face of the gear on a couple teeth, rotate it, and see how it does. And remember, guys, there are no mistakes. There's only happy accidents. So I'm gonna grab like 3 or 4 teeth. All right, my very expensive wireless microphone just died, so that sucks. Halfway through that video, or that last clip, I should say, the audio died. So what I was trying to say is my gears are contacting well. There was an oval section out of the center of the gear, which is what you wanna look for. I'll put on the screen some common issues with gear contact and what the cause may be, but ours looks good, so super excited about that. Now we need to get the axles fed back in. Once we have the axles in, we button up the back and we're basically done. So let's try to get one of the axles slid in, see how that goes. Might not be too easy, but hopefully it is, and we can be done. All right, so for the axles, I did my best effort to make sure that they were clean. Obviously, again, you don't want to be reusing axle seals, but I'm doing it, so there you have it. I'm going to just try to feed this in back into the carrier, the new one. I would show you up there. You don't really see anything going on, so not really anything too special, but let's see if we can just kind of get lucky here. Oh, there you go. Oh, wow. Oh, well, it's not all the way in. Let me try one more time here. Oh, there we go. I just took one hand on the axle, or excuse me, on the propeller shaft, and then the other right here on the backing plate, pushing down on it, and it's fully seated now. Slid right in. So I'm gonna grab a nut on here and just run it down so it's in place. I'm not gonna tighten it down just yet. Very good. Let's go do that on the other side. Oh, nice. That one went straight in. So again, a couple nuts, just put those down so it retains it. And let's go get our cover on. Those nuts go down at 49 foot-pounds. So when you're ready, just cinch all 4 of them down and that's it. And you just reassemble your brakes and you're done. Before dropping it back on the ground, make sure you do, if you did disconnect like the wheel speed sensor lines or the e-brake lines, you wanna make sure that all those are put back in, just cinch them back down. I don't have torque specs for those, but just make sure they're tight. But the last thing we need to do for this video is put our diff cover back on. So I've been sitting it in front of the heater, getting it nice and warm. RTV, obviously room temperature vulcanization, only works with a certain, within a certain degree range. I doubt it works below 30 degrees out here. So getting stuff warm, giving it the best chance of not failing. So make sure the mating surface of your differential case is clean. I did that earlier. Then of course, make sure your diff cover is clean. We'll get some RTV on it and slap it in. All right, for our cover, you wanna make sure you get it as clean as possible. I ran it on a wire wheel to get all of the old RTV off of it. And then for this, we're gonna use Permatex Ultra Gray. Then I have blue thread locker for the bolts. So make sure it's clean, make sure you're happy with it, and then puncture your Ultra Gray and run a bead. You wanna run, of course, on the inside of all of the bolt holes, and then we can go place it. There's our bead, looking pretty decent. I'm gonna pull this off, cap it, and then we'll go down and we'll get this thing in place. All right, I have my bolts staged. I have them here with the thread locker. Just gonna grab 1 or 2 with some locker on it. And then that way, once I get it set in place, I can just get, you know, like 2 diagonal ones set up, so to speak. So that. Now the little hook thing sits on the top. You need to fight the brake line for that. So I'm just gonna do one more wipe here because it looks like a little bit of gear lube made it down here. There we go. Make sure that looks good. And then say goodbye to our differential for now. All right, this has to kind of work its way around here. Try not to touch the surface against anything. There we go. Perfect. And then set it down in place. Good. Put one up here on the opposite side to hold it in place. There we go. Perfect. I'm going to run these some of the way down. Oops. Or all the way. Okay. And now just feed the rest in. Now I'm gonna let that sit. I have them all down basically till they're touching. You can see the RTV kind of squeezing out. And then we're going to wait a day and then come back tomorrow and put them down at 36 foot-pounds. All right, this is actually where I'm gonna leave this video, mostly because all that's really left to do is torque each one of those down tomorrow to the proper torque spec and then fill it up. And that's really all you have to do. And if you need help filling it up, definitely check out my differential drain and fill video. I'll put it up in the corner of the screen here. And that way, you know, you have a full walkthrough if you need it. I will also make a couple videos. They might be a couple shorts, but I am gonna go drive this thing. I do wanna see how this thing performs. Right now, I'm not gonna be doing a lot of off-roading. It's cold and far away, so don't look for that anytime soon, but I am gonna be doing some testing on this. I'm super excited about it. And we'll get it out on the roads, promise. So if you do have any questions or comments, definitely put them down in the comments section below. If you have an Xterra, Frontier, Pathfinder, or Titan, definitely subscribe to the channel because I'm always doing stuff on those platforms. If you feel like this video helped you a lot and maybe saved you some money, say thanks by hitting the super thanks button down below. Thanks so much for watching and thanks for dealing with the 2-part video, and we'll see you in the next one.